Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. So I thought it would be fun to do just like a little chatty video today where I talk about the books that I'm excited to read this summer. I don't want this to feel like a super strict TBR where I have to read these books, but I did want to share the books that I'm really excited to read this summer and the things that I hope to get done. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I have some of these books physically to show you, and then some of them I either don't have yet because they're not out yet, or they're just things that I'm going to be listening to audiobooks or reading the ebooks of. But the first one that I physically have to share with you is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. So my goal is to have this book read by the time that her next book comes out, and it's coming out at the end of September, but I'm including it here because I do think that I can finish this before the end of the summer. Even though it is kind of a bigger book, it is, let's see, almost 600 pages, which is kind of a big book for me personally. I don't love big books, so it does feel a little bit intimidating, but I've heard that this is like Enriquez's magnum opus, and I feel like I will just fall into it and get enthralled with it. So I think that it is going to be possible for me to read this, but I just want to get all of her books read before the next book comes out, and this is the last one that I have not read yet. I don't know a ton about this book, honestly. I have not really looked at any reviews or information about it other than just people saying that it's amazing, but I'm really interested in reading it even though I don't know a lot about it, because Enriquez is pretty much an auto-author for me. I love all of her books, and I'm pretty much going to read everything that she publishes and that gets translated into English. So the sort of like short blurb says, a woman's mysterious death puts her husband and son on a collision course with her demonic family in this first novel to be translated by Enriquez. So apparently it is a road trip that leads to the discovery of some family kind of nightmares in their past, and I guess it alternates between present day and then the 1960s, and talks a lot about Argentina's military dictatorship. So it's kind of about grief and family and this alternating perspective. So that's what I know about it. That's really all I know, but very excited about Our Share of Night. Okay, so these next two books are by the same author, and they are books that I pretty much bought immediately after reading her book Tender as the Flesh. So these are the other two books by Agustina Bastarrica. So I have her short story collection 19 Claws and a Blackbird. This is a collection of kind of brutal, dark short stories, and I have no idea what this is going to be like, but I am absolutely here for her writing style. I also did get the Barnes & Noble special editions because they have these beautiful cover pages, and I just thought that they were so pretty. And then I also have The Unworthy, which has to do with nuns and like sacred sisterhood. So it sounds like it's going to be sort of character focused, but also revealing this mystery of this convent and this sacred sisterhood and the horrors that lie within that. So I'm wondering how much of like a commentary this is going to be on like religion and Catholicism, and what ties this is going to have to like Argentinian history. This author is from Argentina. These are translated, and I really loved Tender as the Flesh, so I went ahead and purchased both of these, and I really just want to read both of these this summer because I'm just so like in that headspace of her writing, and I think that this would be a perfect thing to read for Whit Month as well as Our Share of Night. So these might be, you know, at least one of them might be an August read, just because, you know, I try to read some things for Whit Month every year, even if it's not like a whole TBR anymore. But these are all going to be translated, and these are all from Argentina, so those would be good Whit Month reads, but very excited about reading these two. My camera died, so I think this is about where we were, but let's move on. So the next book I want to read is Astral Season, Beastly Season by Tahi Saite. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. This is a Japanese translated book. This would also probably be a good one for Whit Month because this author is a woman and it is translated, so I may read this one in August as well. So the blurb says that this book follows two high school boys whose favorite J-pop idol kills and dismembers her boyfriend, and the boys unite to convince the police that their idol's act was in fact done by them. So this sounds like it's going to be an interesting take on parasocial relationships and growing up and the experience of idolizing someone and putting someone on a pedestal, and how that affects, you know, a developing brain essentially. And this book has been on my TBR for quite a while. It's been something that I've had on my Goodreads like want to read list for probably years. I saw this randomly somewhere. I don't even remember where I saw it, but I had not been able to find this book anywhere. Like it was not available at any bookstore that I had been to. It wasn't really available like online at any other, bookstore's website. And finally I located this and ordered it recently, just because I had seen it on my Goodreads list and was like, oh my gosh, I do eventually need to get to that. So I did find it finally and ordered it. And I am very excited about this book. I think it's going to be really fascinating and interesting, and I love Japanese translated literature, and I think that it could potentially have like a really weird and twisted kind of vibe to it. So I am very excited about this one. But yeah, it's been on my TBR forever, and I'm really excited to finally know what it's all about. Okay, the next book is also a pretty weird one, but it's one that I just randomly saw in a bookstore and decided to pick it up, and that is Open Throat by Henry Hoke, or Hokie, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But this book is about a group of queer mountain lions, and it's from the perspective of a mountain lion, and it sort of talks about this group of people that lives near where the mountain lions live and the way that the mountain lions perceive them and think about them. And it seems like it's going to be really playful and unique in the perspective point of view. It's written in a very like sparse way. There's not a lot of text on the page, so I think it's going to be a very quick read. I could probably read this, in an afternoon. It's only like 100 and something pages, and it just seems like a very interesting and unique concept, kind of like flesh out. So I think it's just going to be a really like thought-provoking read. I don't know about like plot and this like what exactly is going to happen in this book, but it just seems like a very interesting little like novella and concept. So I think it's going to be a weird one, but I'm just excited to have read it and to be able to include it in future videos and talk about like the weirdness of it. So I think this will fit in great with like my weird book recommendations that I'm working on kind of gathering for you guys. So a little spoiler of what's to come video wise, but I think that this one will be a great addition to that concept if I like it, and I'm really excited about it. And the last physical book that's on my summer TBR is Body Friend by Catherine Braben. So this follows a young woman who is spiraling due to her chronic illness and is struggling with that, and she's sort of not feeling like there's much will to exist and to continue on when she's in so much pain. And she meets another young woman who sort of gives her hope and reframes the perspective that she has, but also just offers her compassion and friendship because she's also struggling with chronic illness. Her friend is encouraging her to rest, to recover, to really sink into that and to give herself grace rather than just continuing on perpetually and just trying to live like everyone else who's not in pain. So it just seems like it's a really interesting examination of chronic pain, the body, and friendship. Obviously, Body Friend being the title. It just seems like something that's going to be really up my alley in terms of the explorations of the subject matter. And I just feel like this has the potential to be a book that I just deeply, deeply connect with and feel at home with. So I'm really excited about this one. It seems like it would be kind of a fun like poolside read because of the whole like water kind of theme with the cover. So I think that it's going to be a really interesting and possibly very, emotionally deep book to read. So very excited about Body Friend. Okay, moving into the books that I don't physically have right now. The first one is Supper Club by Laura Williams. So the little blurb on Goodreads says, it's a sharply intelligent and intimate debut novel about a secret society of hungry young women who meet after dark and feast to reclaim their appetites and their physical spaces, that posits the question, if you feed a starving woman, what will she grow into? So very much in the theme of consumption, and a book that I would really like to include in a future video. So very excited about this one. That's all I really know about it. I've only really read the blurb. I haven't really read any reviews or anything like that. But it just sounds like a premise that is so up my alley right now, thinking about women and consumption as rebellion and rebirth and growth. I think it's going to be really interesting. So that is one that I'm really excited about. The next one I want to talk about is Chrysalis by Anna Metcalf. So this one I just came across randomly on someone's book list online and thought it sounded really interesting. So the blurb on this one says, what happens when a woman dares to take up space? An enigmatic young woman drastically transforms her body, working to become bigger, stronger, and stiller in the wake of a trauma. We see her through the eyes of 3 people, each differently mesmerized by her as they reckon with the consequences of her bizarre metamorphosis. Each of them leaves us with a puzzle piece of who she was before she became someone else. So the perspective sounds so interesting. It kind of reminds me of The Vegetarian in the sense that the woman is experiencing some kind of transformation or change, and we don't get her perspective. We get the perspectives of different people around her who are viewing her. So it sounds like a very unique and interesting point of view, and the subject matter of this transformation of body sounds so interesting to me, especially as it relates to like metamorphosis and this sort of like bug imagery that's happening. I don't know what that is gonna kind of feel like, if it's all metaphorical or if there's gonna be something like weird in there as well. So we'll find out, but that one just sounded so interesting, and I'm probably going to listen to that on audio. Next up is a book that's not yet out yet. It's coming out in early August, and that is Open Wide by Jessica Gross. So I love Jessica Gross and her first book, Hysteria. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and Open Wide is coming out, and I really don't know anything about it other than that it is a character study of this character named Olive, and that's funny because my cat's name is Olive, so I'm into that. So it sounds like Olive is in her 30s and struggles to connect with people, and she meets this guy Theo and becomes really, really attached to him and invested in being as close to him as possible. And I guess it sort of explores that dynamic and her experience with relationships and herself. I love the way that Gross incorporates the surreal and weird into her writing, and I'm super, super excited for Open Wide. So I'm probably going to purchase that as soon as it comes out and read it right away, hopefully, if I'm not reading too many other things at the time, but very, very excited for this one. Okay, the next one I know even less about because I think like this description is very, very vague purposefully, and it's kind of like guarded and like secret, I feel like, but it is Pig by Matilda Pretesi. So the blurb says, pigs are Valentina's safe place. When she's feeling overwhelmed, she lists the breeds until her mind becomes quiet again. Val struggles to live life without order. Every morning she reads the note that her flatmate Clara has pinned on the fridge telling her what to wear and what to eat before leaving for her job at a bookshop. Sometimes Val's colleagues invite her to drinks, but she never goes. She knows that Clara wouldn't be happy if Val socialized with others. As Clara has told her plenty of times, who else would put up with her weird pig facts? But a chance encounter at the bookshop leads to an exciting opportunity. As Val steps into the world of other people, Clara isn't yet ready to let go of her favorite prey. So it sounds really weird and explores the dynamics of obsessive friendship and just obsessive control of another person. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty wild and crazy. I actually have this coming from Blackwell's in the UK because when I looked at it on Goodreads, it said it was coming out like May 1st or something. Yeah, May 1st, 2025. And I had been looking around at all different bookstores and researching it online, and it just was not available anywhere, and no one knew what I was talking about. And so I ended up ordering it because I think this is the UK pub date, and for some reason Goodreads in the US has it as May 1st, 2025. So that's when it's released in the UK, and so I ordered it from the UK. That being said, very, very excited to read this one. It sounds super, super wild and weird, but I'm just waiting for it to come in the mail. Okay, speaking of weird ones that don't really have a lot of information, the next book that I am waiting for in the mail and am really excited to read this summer is Shy Girl by Mia Ballard. So the description on this one says, lonely, broke, and depressed with a serious case of OCD, Gia finds herself at a crossroads when financial troubles lead her to Nathan, a mysterious, affluent man she encounters on a sugar dating website. Desperate for a solution, Gia is intrigued by Nathan's unconventional offer. In exchange for living as his devoted pet, all of her debts will be erased. But the longer Gia is in captivity, the more animalistic she becomes. And it's also said that fans of Night Bitch would also like this book. So we may get some, girl turns into dog kind of situation happening. I don't know. But either way, it sounds like it's gonna be super, super weird, and I'm very pumped for it. I just saw this, I think, somewhere online, someone's book list for upcoming releases, and this was another one that I couldn't find anywhere at all in person. I think it's just kind of a more niche, lesser known book. So I ended up ordering it online. I was able to find it that way and didn't have to order it from the UK that time. I could order it in the US, but like no one carries it in person, even though it was, a March release of this year. So that being said, very excited for that one and looking forward to the weirdness. Okay, so the last 3 books I want to talk about are all books that I'm going to be reading for my Litfic book club that I go to every month. The June book club is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I've already read this one, so I'm not going to like go into it, but essentially it follows a woman who works at a convenience store, and she loves working at a convenience store, and people in her life are like, you're not doing anything with your life, like don't you want to do something else? And she's like, no, this makes me happy, and why do I have to do, you know, something that's going to be perceived as better or more prestigious than working at a convenience store? So it's really a commentary on capitalism and the need to be always pursuing something bigger and better rather than being content where you are. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is this one called Catalina by Carla Conejo Villavicencio, I think. I'm not great with Spanish pronunciations, but that's the best I got. So the short blurb says, a year in the life of the unforgettable Catalina, a wicked, wry, and heartbreakingly vulnerable student at an elite college, forced to navigate an opaque past, an uncertain future, tragedies on 2 continents, and the tantalizing possibilities of love and freedom. So it sounds like it focuses on the immigrant experience and a young girl in college who's trying to discover who she is in the midst of this huge relocation and struggling to know what her place is and to be comfortable where she is. I really don't know a ton more about the themes or anything like that, but I know that I am going to read this because I read everything we read for book club. So that is one of the book club picks, and looking forward to kind of learning more about that. So the last book for book club that I want to talk about is Ask Me Again by Claire Sestanovich. So I don't know a ton about this one other than that it follows a 16-year-old named Eva, and she meets Jamie, and Jamie is very affluent and from Upper Manhattan, and Eva lives in middle-class South Brooklyn, and they start this platonic relationship, and I think it explores themes of friendship and class dynamics as far as what I'm getting from the description. But yeah, I don't know much else about it. I just know that I'm going to read it for book club, and I'm interested to see what other themes pop up in this book. So those are the books that I'm the most excited to read this summer and the things that I hope to be reading. Again, not sure if this is going to be, you know, entirely a TBR that I finish or anything like that, but I just wanted to talk about the books that I'm really excited about for this summer. Let me know what you're excited to read this summer. Are you interested in reading any new releases, or are they all backlist books? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.